If you can do a job, tell him, "Certainly I can," and get busy and find out how to do it. With self-discipline most anything is possible. It is better to be faithful than famous. Get action. Seize the moment. Man was never intended to become an oyster. It is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed. In this life we get nothing save by effort. I don't pity any man who does hard work worth doing. I admire him. I pity the creature who does not work, at whichever end of the social scale he may regard himself as being. No man needs sympathy because he has to work. Far and away the best prize that life offers is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. Great thoughts speak only to the thoughtful mind, but great actions speak to all mankind. The man who makes no mistakes does not usually make anything. If you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit for a month. Big jobs usually go to the man who proved their ability to outgrow small ones. The most important single ingredient in the formula of success is knowing how to get along with people. No one cares how much you know, until they know how much you care. There were all kinds of things I was afraid of at first, ranging from grizzly bears to mean horses and gunfighters, but by acting as if I was not afraid I gradually ceased to be afraid. Keep your eyes on the stars, and your feet on the ground. Do what you can, with what you have, where you are. In any moment of decision the best thing you can do is the right thing, the next best thing is the wrong thing, and the worst thing you can do is nothing. People ask the difference between a leader and a boss. The leader works in the open, and the boss in covert. The leader leads, and the boss drives. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly so that his place shall never be with those timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. To educate a man in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to society. The best executive is the one who has sense enough to pick good men to do what he wants done, and self-restraint to keep from meddling with them while they do it. We must remember not to judge any public servant by any one act, and especially should we beware of attacking the men who are merely the occasions and not the cause of disaster. We demand that big business give the people a square deal. In return we must insist that when anyone engaged in big business honestly endeavors to do right he shall himself be given a square deal. Viewed purely in the abstract, I think there can be no question that women should have equal rights with men. Especially as regards the laws relating to marriage there should be the most absolute equality between the two sexes. I do not think the woman should assume the man's name. Much can be done by law towards putting women on a footing of complete and entire equal rights with man, including the right to vote, the right to hold and use property, and the right to enter any profession she desires on the same terms as the man. Women should have free access to every field of labor which they care to enter. And when their work is as valuable as that of a man it should be paid as highly. Working women have the same need to protection that working men have. The balance is as necessary for one class as to the other. We do not believe that with the two sexes there is identity of function, but we do believe there should be equality of right. For unflagging interest and enjoyment, a household of children, if things go reasonably well, certainly makes all other forms of success and achievement lose their importance by comparison. The one thing I want to leave my children is an honorable name. It is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed. Be practical as well as generous in your ideals. Keep your eyes on the stars, but remember to keep your feet on the ground. Optimism is a good characteristic, but if carried to an excess, it becomes foolishness. We are prone to speak of the resources of this country as inexhaustible. This is not so. We of an older generation can get along with what we have, though with growing hardship, But in your full manhood and womanhood you will want what nature once so bountifully supplied and man so thoughtlessly destroyed, and because of that want you will reproach us, not for what we have used, but for what we have wasted. So any nation which in its youth lives only for the day, reaps without sowing, and consumes without husbanding, must expect the penalty of the prodigal whose labor could with difficulty find him the bare means of life. The conservation of natural resources is the fundamental problem. Unless we solve that problem, it will avail us little to solve all others.